How's it going, Taylor?
Going good.
Oh, weather going a little bit better now?
Well, now it's starting to thaw. Now it's getting nasty.
Yep, yeah. I remember that used to be the spring out in Wyoming with horses and cattle.
Yeah.
Of
Well,
course,
we're not used to where I'm at. We're not used to ice getting 2 inches thick on the ponds, and that's what's
mm,
hard on us.
yeah, out
Having
there
to break
we had to
having to
move.
break ice just to let the cows drink.
Oh, I had to, yeah, Oklahoma, we had to do that as well. In western Oklahoma in the winter, go out there. Well, that was at a horse ranch. Had to go out
Yeah.
there and bust up the horse trough. Oh, I hated having to do that.
Yeah.
Calving season was the worst in Wyoming because you had to literally sit out 24 hours with the calves, make sure they didn't stop breathing or freeze to death.
Yeah.
Out there they got barns with heaters to try
Yeah.
to mitigate. Well,
Yeah. Our little cattle operation's just a little family one. It ain't a big one, but between me and my dad, we've got about 100 head. He's got an old chicken house that shut down. So
ooh,
he's been rolling hay down the middle of that old chicken house to where at least they're out of the dry,
oh
out of the
yeah,
wind, in the dry, out of the wind.
oh I hear you. Yeah, hey ain't cheap.
Yeah, luckily we make our own. So
Sorry to hear about your calf. That's a
yeah, that's a
hard.
rough deal.
I was telling Dad, this was years ago. I'll never forget. I was working for a rancher out in Wyoming. We had a greenhorn working as a hand, and he caught. Oh, he got up, and when it rang, rancher called me. I went out. I was lead wrangler. I went out, and then he called out because the calf stopped breathing. Me and the rancher got out there, and the rancher said, "Give him mouth to mouth." He said, "I ain't putting my lips on it." He said, "Well, start walking then." He thought the rancher was joking. He said, "Man, that calf's your job."
Yeah, we always joke around with the phrase "mouth to snout."
Yeah. Yep. Amazing what you'll do for a calf or a cow or any of them.
So did a calf just die?
Well, the ice is thick enough around the outsides of the ponds to where he can get out on it if it freezes. And I guess they're looking for water, either that or being curious. And they
Right.
walk out to the middle where it's thin. And if we don't know it and we don't see it, they're dead in just a few minutes.
My, wow, it is that severe, huh?
Yeah. That's not
Wow.
normal for us. We're not used to dealing with that.
It can happen to humans if they fall in too.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Chip, you look like you're still a little chilly out there in Asheville.
I think it's like 15 degrees out there right now. Cold.
Normal, somewhat. It
It
does
used to
because
be.
it gets that way at some point during the winter, usually in Asheville. Y'all get snow, Chip?
Ice.
Oh, y'all got ice.
Yeah, we got ice.
It's
We got
it's
ice, but it wasn't
gorgeous
very
when
bad.
it's gorgeous when it snows out there in Asheville.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. We're supposed to get snow this weekend, so we just keep cruising.
Dad, you're muted.
Hi, good morning, everybody. While I was muted, Taylor, I asked you if things were a little better today. I'm sorry, you didn't hear me.
Well, I got up and got out earlier today.
Well, it's a challenge when it says,
Yep.
Taylor, why don't you go ahead and lead us in a word of prayer to start class, please?
Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day that you've given us on your earth. Lord, I want to pray that everybody in attendance is doing well. Lord, I want to pray for all those around the world that are suffering at this time. Lord, be with us as we open your word and learn more about it. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you. All right, I got I think 7 papers so far, and they're good. I appreciate that. Uh, in fact, I was I was very pleased with the quality of the papers. Each of you has a different style. That's okay. I'm good with different style. In fact, when I teach, even this class, I try to emphasize use your style. Whatever your style is what you ought to use. Don't try to be me. I don't know anybody that would want to, but don't try. Just focus on getting the truth out. If you get the truth out, then in some ways, I don't care what your style is, and don't take that as anything but a compliment because that's really what it's meant to be. I I used to tell the guys when I was full time in as a director in Knoxville, I'd tell them if I show up one day where you're preaching, don't think I'm in the audience to grade you. I'm not there to grade you. I'm there to worship. That's what we do. If we had a devotional together, I would not. I'd never graded a devotional talk. I don't believe in that. Devotional talk should help us be devoted. That's what it ought to do, and all of us can benefit from that. Uh, all right, what I have done, and I don't know how this is going to work on the chat. That I think will be on your screen somewhere. I don't know. I've not looked at your side of it. On the chat, I have now downloaded uh, some sermons uh, they're yours to use if you like. And again, make them your style. Don't make them my style. But the key here, what I'm really interested in, is showing you ways that you could that you could deal with these with the kingdom and things like that. So, do you all see the chat, or is that available or not?
My apologies. I don't see such thing, brother.
Oh, well, that's funny. It says everyone, and it says it's GST. Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm not on your. I can't see your screen, and if I could, I probably couldn't help. So I wouldn't make any difference anyway. Let me go over these, and we'll figure out a way. I think yesterday I gave them to Mario. Maybe I'll do it that way again. We get to a break. I may send these to Mario so that he can display it, or if I can think of a way to pass it on to all your email, that'd be all right too. I'm not sure. This is where let's try it on notes. Let's just try something. I'm going to try to put this on notes and see uh, what might happen. So sign in. Okay. I thought I was signed in. Uh, just hang in there, guys. I know we're recording, but I want to get these to you. And I know Dave wants me to put stuff like this on the LMS, uh, and that's fine. And I'm not gonna be able to do that. All right, we're just gonna go on. I'll send it to. I'll figure a way to get it to you. Some way, somehow, I'll get it to
Oh,
you. All right.
brother, if you want to do the same thing as yesterday, please, I'm at your service. Please feel free to send that to me if you want.
Okay, let's go to Daniel chapter 6. Thank you, Mario. I'm not ignoring you. I know I've wasted some time here. All right, we're in Daniel chapter 6. This is the last chapter that deals with, if you would, events that happen specifically in a point in time. Then we turn into visions. They, of course, do also happen at a point in time, but it's not Daniel interacting with other people or anything like that as a general rule. Instead, it is the visions that God gave him, and that we'll get to starting really next time. All right, so chapter 6. Let me give you a little background. This may have occurred during Cyrus' ascension year. If that's true, then it would be 539 to 540 BC. And really, by the way, I should have flipped that 540 to 539 because you count down on BC. But anyway, it is assumed because of the appointment of 120 satraps, or what we would call provincial governors. And Daniel's one of those. Of course, actually, he's a little bit higher than one of those. He's one of three that are over the entire government. Daniel would be approximately 80 to 90 years old. And why do I not have anything better than that? I don't know how old he was when he went to Babylon. If I knew how old he was then, I could tell you, well, just add 70 to it, you got it. Because when we get to chapter 9, we're going to see that Daniel, at about this same time, has been reading in the book of Jeremiah, and he's come to the conclusion that the Babylonian captivity is coming to an end. So we know roughly where we are in terms of his life. If he was 10 years old when they took him to Babylon, then he's now 80. I lean toward him probably being a little older than that, but hey, I said I lean. I didn't say I could prove it because I can't. I'm just telling you that's my thinking on that. All right, Daniel served the king through the first year of Cyrus, but he continued to prophesy at least through the third year. And we know that from chapter 10, verse 1. So he didn't die in Cyrus' first year, but he ceased to serve in the government, so far as we can tell. There's no indication that he served beyond the first year of Cyrus' rule in the land of Babylon. All right, let's look at the opening verses of chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps, to be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, that the satraps might give account to them, so that the king would suffer no loss. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. All right. Darius has got to set up a government. They've unseated, in fact, they've killed Belshazzar, and now they're in charge, the Medes and the Persians. Darius is a Mede. He will rule over this area in Cyrus's kingdom. They work together, these two nations, to conquer the world. So there he is, working in that area, and he's got to organize things. How do I know nobody's stealing out of the treasury? For example, well, you don't unless you set up people who have authority. Well, that's what he does. He sets up 120 satraps. You call them kingdom protectors. That's fine. We've already talked about they could be called provincial governors. That would be, for us, that might be more understandable in the United States. I don't know what would be understandable in other places, but here that would be fairly understandable. Then over those 120, he had 3 men. So again, if I was thinking about it in human terms, that would appear to mean that each of these governors had 40 satraps under them. Is that the way it was? I don't know. I just think that's a possibility. It seems logical, which, by the way, is not a good way to reason biblically. So, I'm just telling you, this seems like a possibility. In 531, that's chapter 5, verse 31 of Daniel, it says, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So Kyle says that indicates that he was the conqueror, was given this by the conqueror. So Cyrus gave Darius this area to rule. Now you might say, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't get all that." Well, if you go to the New Testament, you find much the same thing, don't you? The Romans divided their kingdom up around, in the area around Jerusalem. So you've got Herod the Great, you've got his brother Philip, and others. You know, we can talk about, and they ruled in different areas. You know, Herod's over the land of Judah. You know, effectively. Well, really in the north. He's over Galilee. And why do I know that? Well, because Pilate later, not for Herod the Great, but another Herod comes along, and that Herod is a good out for Pilate. Remember, you know, Pilate hears, "Oh, you're from Galilee. Let's send you to Herod." You know, because Pilate didn't want to make that decision that he was going to be forced to make. So that we're familiar with that in the New Testament. We got it here in the Old Testament. Darius appointed 120 satraps, kingdom protectors, with 3 governors, sometimes called presidents. And these words are coming from different translations. So if they help you, good. If they don't, well, just ignore them. Just as long as you understand what's going on here. Daniel is one of the 3 governors. He distinguished himself so much so that the king considered appointing him over the other 2 governors, and therefore really over the whole nation. Now, why would he do that? We're getting ready to see. Because his fellow governors and the satraps are going to look for anything they can accuse Daniel of, and guess what? They can't find it. Who would you like to have in charge of your things? I'd like somebody that's so trustworthy that I can just hand him the keys and my checkbook, and I don't worry about it. And that's effectively who Daniel is. So beautiful beginning to the chapter. It gives us, by the way, if you ever want to write a beautiful sermon, write about Daniel as he's revealed in this book. I didn't require that as part of the class, and I'm not going to require it. But verses like this point out to us the kind of man Daniel was, and he's remarkable. And we've already noted God on one occasion said, even if Daniel prayed for you, it wouldn't do any good. So God holds him in pretty high esteem as well. And I'm not saying he's above God or better than God. He's just a great servant of God. And that's what we're seeing. All right, verse 4 of chapter 6. So the governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel. Now, wait a minute. So, what does the word so suggest to you? S-O.
Because of?
What?
Because of?
Because of what, then?
Because of the previous verses.
There you go. We most often, we're used to the word therefore, aren't we? And the old country preachers would say, "What's it there for?" You know? So in this case, it's so, But so tells me that they see that Daniel is about to be made over everybody, and they don't like it. They want to be in charge. They don't want him in charge. And so that's why it begins with so. So the governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault, because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. Now, that isn't that a powerful statement? No error, no fault. Now, they're human beings. I know that God could see sin in Daniel's life. Now, how do I know that? Because everybody sins. That's the easy answer. That doesn't make Daniel a bad person. But I think the indication is, if he ever did something wrong, he would have been the kind that would have taken care of it. He would have dealt with it. So they can't find anything against him. Then these men said, "We shall not find any charge against this Daniel, unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God." And there's you another potential sermon idea right there. Could they only find something against you regarding God's law? Are you that good? Are you blameless? Do you live a life that is exemplary around other people? I think the New Testament would indicate that it ought to be. Philippians chapter 2 talks about us being examples. Jesus talks about men seeing your good works and glorifying God in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. So should we be this kind of people? I think the answer to that is yes, we should be this kind of people. And what kind of charge would they bring against you? Might be a good title for a sermon. I've never done that one, but I'm just throwing out ideas as we go along here. So the only thing they can find against him is God's law. So these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to him, "King Darius, live forever." Okay, flattery will get you everywhere. That's what they think. So they begin that way. "All the governors of the kingdom." Now notice the word all. Is that actually true? All the governors?
No.
Where's Daniel? He doesn't seem to be in on this, right? Now, I'm going to give you a warning that comes from the experience of an old debater. Rarely ever can you say all. All. Now, you want to talk about what God does? Okay. Now we can say all. Okay. But you want to talk about what man does? Rarely ever can you use the word all. If you hear somebody at the church where you're working say everyone is upset with you, my next question would be, who is everyone? And if you can get them to answer, many times it's this man, his wife, and his cousin Vinny. That's who it is, that's everybody. Well, no, that's not everybody. Okay, so they're trying to convince the king to do something that is against the best interests of Daniel. Now, I would propose to you that the way the king reacts, it's also against the best interests of the king. But how are you going to get him to do it? Well, flatter him. That's where they start. And then tell him, everybody's saying this. Well, they're not all saying it. So go back to verse 7. "All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, so that it cannot be changed, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter." Therefore King Darius signed the written decree. Here's a lesson outside of, to some extent, of the biblical thinking. I urge you, don't sign any contract until you've thought about it at least overnight. If Darius had waited just a little while, he might have thought this through and figured out what's going on. But they flattered him. They said everybody's discussed it. It's a very flattering law if you think about it. The only one they can make a request of is you. You're the man. You're in charge. And with that flattery there in front of him, he signs it. Bad idea. I'm talking about in any matter. I've had many a guy try to get me to buy a car on the spot. I did it exactly one time. And if my wife had been a woman of the world, she'd have divorced me for it. She's not a woman of the world, okay? So I'm thankful to say, but she would have because I made that deal without her knowing anything about it. That wasn't right. Shouldn't have been done that way. But anyway, that's another story. Okay, Daniel's faithful service left no reason to accuse him. Now watch. We want to compare verse 10. Now, when Daniel knew the writing was signed, he went home in his upper room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. Okay, so they knew they were right. You want to make a law that Daniel's going to violate? Just tell him don't worship your God. All right, skip on down to verse 16. And so the king gave the command. They brought Daniel and cast him in the den of lions. But the king spoke, saying to Daniel, your God whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. Okay, only thing you can get him on is service to God. The king knows it, just like these governors knew it. Now verse 20. And when he came to the den, he cried out with a lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually. All right. Has your God whom you serve continually been able to deliver you from the lions? So if you're underlining this, talking about Daniel and his relationship to God, being the only thing they could accuse him of, you'd underline the end of verse 10, custom since early days. And then you'd come down to verse 16 and you'd underline serve continually. And then you'd come down to verse 20 and again you would underline serve continually. What kind of man was Daniel in relation to God? He was constantly in service. So his colleagues asked for a decree that all religious requests, notice that, you can't ask any god or man, but they made sure to incorporate the God part. Now, I suspect that Darius is a polytheist, just like Nebuchadnezzar was. So when he thinks gods, he would be thinking about all these wood idols and stone and that kind of thing as well. But the reality is that Daniel's going to be dealing with the living God. That's what he's going to deal with. But the decree works. Yes, Obed.
Sorry to interject. Uh, I don't know if you can throw more light on the law of the Medes and the Persians. The fact that it was immutable. I still don't have a perfect understanding of that law. If you can throw more light.
Maybe a little. The Medes and Persians, quite simply, when they passed a law, you couldn't change it. That's the way they did it. And once it is established, it's established. I'm thinking of a movie, and oddly enough, it has nothing to do with this country. I was thinking of a movie called The Ten Commandments, and I remember that the main character who's playing Pharaoh, main character except for Moses, of course, but he says, "So let it be written, so let it be done," and that's pretty much the way it is here. They pass a law, and the Medes and Persians, you cannot modify it. Now you're going to see that same thing, Obed, in the book of Esther. See, the king in Esther cannot change the law. So he asks Esther and Mordecai, "What can we do?" Well, he really asks Esther, "What can we do?" And she says, "Give us the right to defend ourselves. Give us the right to when these people attack us to respond." We call it self-defense, I guess, something along that order. But that's because it's the same law. Once they pass the law, it cannot be changed. You have to keep the law. Now, can you put another law in that would kind of circumvent the intent of that law? Yes, but you can't. You cannot change the law. And we're going to watch Darius. He's going to spend a fitful day trying to figure out how to circumvent this law. He's going to do that, but he's going to fail. Obed, if you'll remind me, I'll try to check the Bible background commentary and see if it gives us a little bit more information. Might make you feel a little better about the answer. But I'm telling you, that's the way their law worked. Okay, his colleagues asked for a decree that all religious requests should go through him, that is, through Darius, as the sole representative of deity. So they basically made him be the God. For a month, you're God. You're the only God for a month. Only one we can talk to. If Daniel obeyed that, he would violate God's law. A disobedience, on the other hand, would appear to be disloyal to the king, wouldn't it? Because the king's passed the law, and Daniel keeps talking to his God, making requests of him. The king, so then, I think, possibly flattered, signs the decree, and now they've got him. Or more nearly, they've got Daniel, and they've got the king in a trap of sorts. Knowing the decree was signed, Daniel continued to stand for God. Now, when I see this, I cannot help but think of the apostles in the book of Acts. Acts chapter 5, verse 29. And listen, but Peter and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey God rather than man." I like to throw out the idea, as you look at the Bible, you constantly need to look for overarching principles. Because the overarching principle controls the laws and other things under it. So, overarching principle, you ought to obey God. All right, so then if man tries to get me to do something God doesn't want me to do, the overarching principle says I can't do it. Everybody with me? Okay, all right. So, his custom from his youth was to kneel in prayer 3 times a day. Look at Psalm 55 briefly. It may give us a little insight into the Jewish mindset, which of course would be Daniel's mindset. Listen to what the singer of Israel says in verses 16 and 17 of Psalm 55. "As for me, I will call upon God, and the Lord shall save me. Evening and morning and at noon, I will pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice." We don't really think that Daniel wrote this. In fact, it's believed David wrote that. But David predates Daniel. And is it possible that Daniel had read this psalm and made that his practice in his life? I'd say that's a possibility. But minimally, that was his practice. He prayed morning, noon, and evening. Morning, noon, and evening. Since he was a little boy, he did that. Now, he prayed facing Jerusalem. And you might say, why? And all I can do is tell you what happened in 1 Kings chapter 8. You're getting to the temple that Solomon built. And 1 Kings chapter 8, we're going to look at verses 33 to 36. And by the way, so far as I know, this may be the longest prayer in all of Scripture. Maybe. This is Solomon at the dedication of the temple. And particularly, we're going to zero in on verses 33 to 36 of 1 Kings 8. When your people, Israel, are defeated before an enemy. All right, stop. Had they been defeated? Yeah, they had. Babylon took them captive. But they'd been defeated. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem in 586. He just destroyed it. He actually defeated them in about 606. Problem is, the Jews they don't say uncle. If you know what I'm talking about, they don't give up. You defeat them, and they still think they're in charge. And that the Romans had the same problem with the Jews. You can't get the Jews. You just finally have to crush them if you want them to stop. So anyway, all right, go back. When your people, Israel, are defeated before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and when they turn back to you and confess your name and pray and make supplication to you in this temple, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain because they've sinned against you, when they pray toward this place and confess your name and turn from their sin because you afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel, that you may teach them the good way in which they should walk, and send rain on your land which you've given to your people as an inheritance. Why did he turn toward Jerusalem? Because that's where the temple was. What's the significance of that? That was God's dwelling place among the people. It's where the Shekinah of God. What's the Shekinah? Anybody know?
The glory of God.
The glory of God. It's where the glory of God resided among his people. And God doesn't live there in the sense of the way we would think about it physically. He's got his master bedroom, his bathroom, his kid. No, that's not the way it is. See, but his glory would come down and be among the people, and it came there to that temple. Now, if you're still at that First Kings passage, I want to give you. I told you I'm notorious for taking a colored pencil, and when I see something repeated over and over again, I underline it. So watch this. Verse 30. Go down toward the end of the verse. Here in heaven. Verse 32, the beginning of the verse. Here in heaven. Verse 34, the beginning of the verse. Here in heaven. Verse 36, the beginning. Here in heaven. Verse 39, the beginning. Here in heaven. Verse 43, the very beginning. Here in heaven. Verse 45, here in heaven. Going down to verse 49, then here in heaven. What do you think the emphasis of Solomon's prayer was? We want you to hear us, God. When we pray, we want you to hear us. Here in heaven, here in heaven, here in heaven. And people that have been driven away from their land because of their sins, should certainly appeal to God. Please hear us, God. Please hear us. Now, this will not be the last person to pray such a prayer. Daniel is one, but he's not the only one. In their captivity, you'll see others that also approach God. So, He kept praying as his custom was. So we'll reread verse 10 of Daniel 6. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, please notice that he knew the law had gone into effect. There's no doubt here. He knows exactly what the law says. And then what does he do? He went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day. The law was signed, he knew it, and that day, 3 times he knelt down in prayer. And then the writer, probably Daniel, says, gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. Young, in his commentary, says, in his prayer, there was nothing forced or mechanical, but he uttered his petitions as in the very presence of God. How do you pray? Now, I want you to think about you personally. I'm not asking you to answer that question, except in your own mind. When you pray, do you think, God's right here with me? He hears me. I'm in his very presence. That was the way Daniel prayed. He had an intimate relationship with the Almighty. All right. Daniel's colleagues plotted his death. So watch, beginning at verse 11. And I want us to see several things here because they somewhat fit what's going on in our world, at least in the United States today. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Well, don't you find it interesting that they knew he'd go on and pray anyway? He is a man of integrity. He is a man who is going to remain loyal to his God no matter what. And they know it. They can see it. And they went before the king and spoke concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree that every man who petitions any god or man within 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. Okay, so Obed, there's the king's answer to your question. You can't change it. So they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of the captives from Judah, does not show due regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. And the king, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men approached the king and said to the king, know, O king, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians, that no decree or statute which the king established may be changed. All right, several things to notice here. First of all, their charges are despicable. They're despicable, number one, because they are racist. One of the captives of Judah. Number two, they're biased. He does not show due regard for you. That's not really true. It's just that he has a greater regard for God in heaven. See, all right, so I'm going to ask you, is it wrong? Would it be wrong for a Christian to respect a policeman? No, that's not wrong. Would it be wrong for a Christian to respect the mayor of a city? No. Would it be wrong for a Christian to respect the governor of the state or whatever? No. Would it be wrong for a Christian to respect the president? No. would it be wrong for a Christian to respect any of these people to the point that he would violate the law of God? You see, that's where it's not, when you say does not show due regard for you, that's not true. He had regard for the Darius, the king, but he had more regard for God. And then finally, they charge him with violation. Does not show due regard for the decree you have signed. That's their charge. It's threefold: racist, biased, and a violation. That's what they're saying. Darius knew that he'd been tricked, and he's displeased with himself. I don't get tricked very often, but I when I do, I kick myself. That's a figure of speech. Okay, that's not, I don't literally kick myself, but I'll give you an instance. The other day, I had somebody I trusted very totally, and they sent me a link and said, my son-in-law says that this, because you like AI, he says this will help you. And I went to the site, and it said for $1 I could sign up and begin to experience everything that they had. And I thought, hey, okay, this is from somebody I trust. I didn't read the fine print. On the internet, I gave my credit card and I paid the $1. Every week since then, for 4 straight weeks, I got charged $9.99. I still don't know what I'm getting. I finally called my credit card company and said, block it. Don't let, they're going to have to come to me and tell me, what am I getting for $9.99 every week? That's $40 a month. That's a lot of money. Or it is to me, put it that way. Do I get mad at myself? Yeah. Did Darius get mad at himself? Yes. He knew what happened. I let these boys pull the wool over my eyes. And he's mad at himself for doing that. The accusers wait until sundown. And then they point out to him, no decree can be changed. Now, I wonder, and I can't prove this, but here's my suspicion, that they know that Darius is really under Cyrus. And if Darius violates the law of the Medes and the Persians, you wonder, are they going to take it to Cyrus? See, they don't have a problem with bringing problems against Daniel to Darius. So these guys, the nature of these men, I'll bet you they're going to tell Cyrus. Now, I don't know that, but that's my suspicion. But notice how much Darius valued Daniel. It took him a whole day to finally say, well, I've got to keep the law. I've got to do what I said I'd do. So pick up verse 16. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. But the king spoke, saying to Daniel, your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. I don't think that Darius had that confidence. I think he saw it in Daniel, and he made that statement. I'm going to show you why I don't think he had the confidence later in the text. Then a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, with the signets and with the signets of his lords, that the purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. All right. I don't know about you, but all my lifetime I thought of the den as being something maybe cut out in the stone, and that's probably not the way this worked. The den was probably down in a cave-like setting with an opening, and they roll this stone in front of the opening. Boy, does that sound like something in the New Testament or not? They roll that stone in front of it, they seal it, and the king puts his signet ring on it. If that seal is broken, then whoever broke it violated the law of the Medes and the Persians, really, trying to let Daniel out. Then all these governors that say they also signed it, so to speak, with their signet ring. Now, signet ring, what is that? It's a ring that's specially made that is like your signature. In those days, when they would write a letter, for example, they would roll it up, because they rolled them up like a scroll. They didn't put them in an envelope like we might do. They rolled it up like a scroll, and then they would tip a candle, for example, and let some of the wax drip on where the paper lapped over. They would drip it on there until it formed a circle of sorts made out of wax. And then they'd press the ring down in that now still warm wax, and it would leave a clear impression. That is the signature of, and everybody knew this is Darius' signature because it's the image on his ring, and so forth. That's what the signet ring is. Okay. Now the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting, and no musicians were brought before him. Also his sleep went from him. Notice Kyle said, "May thy God, whom thou servest continually, deliver thee," is really the way this ought to be translated. That helps a little bit. Instead of him having confidence in God, he is saying, may he do it. Haley thinks verse 24 would indicate the den was sloped from top to bottom. We'll see that when we get to verse 24. A signet ring, now this does come from the IVP Bible Background Commentary. A signet ring held the official seal of the king by which he authorized the business of the empire. It's his signature. That's what it effectively is. Darius' sleepless night seems to indicate his concern for Daniel. I think that's what we're seeing. Okay, we're not quite through with this chapter, of course. But we're going to take a break. I'm going to give you all about, let's do about 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and start back.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Brother Gary, I got a question. What version of the Bible do you use?
I'm using New King James. What do you use?
Well, I've
Taylor?
got King James and New King James. I didn't know which one you had used. I knew it wasn't King James.
Yeah, no. Well, all my memory work is in King James. But having said that, I came to the point where I realized I was spending a lot of time explaining to young people what King James English meant. And I thought, I don't want to spend my time in the pulpit explaining King James English. I want to explain what God said. And really, the King James itself was modified at least 9 times. I could not read the original King James. I doubt you could either. You may be better than I am, and I'm not going to challenge that. But it was more in Shakespearean English, and it definitely is difficult to read. I'll put it that way. It would be for me.
I know I refer to the Greek a lot too.
Okay, and that's okay. I try not to say very often the word Greek. That makes people think, oh, you're showing off your education. Instead, I try to say the original language here would say this. See, so it's, I know that's and I'm not criticizing you, Taylor. I'm just saying that's my that's a trick I use. Okay. I'm going to try to get something up here for you. Does that help? I'm using New King James anyway. Yeah, in my reading. Okay, let me see if I can get this stuff up for you guys. So, and you're welcome to talk to me while I work, but be aware I'm going to be working. Whatever, I'm going to try to figure this out. Okay, where can I put a note?
Yeah, brother Hampton.
Somebody that's there
Uh,
watching.
this is
Yes,
Obed. I'm not too sure if you received my assignment, the one about the kingdom. I sent it on the LMS.
I've
I'm
got
not
it.
too sure if it
No,
arrived.
yeah,
Oh,
I've
okay.
got it.
Okay.
I've got
Thank
it.
you.
And I've already graded it,
Because I
but
was
I don't,
confused if I should send it
no,
by
no, no,
email.
no, everything's good. You got it to me.
Okay. All right.
So, brother, you said that you're okay with just me being your the nagging fly on your ear while you
Yeah,
work?
1 second, I'm about to sneeze. Yes, you're doing. I'm not sneezing. I thought I was. Yes, go ahead. Do one thing for me, nagging fly.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
Look on, okay, on the LMS. Are you on that?
Sure. Yes.
Look at share what you've been up to. Can you see that? What I just posted on that or no?
Okay. Okay. Just 1 second, brother. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Let's see.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait
Mm.
1 second. 1 second. I'm going to
Sure.
share it
Sure.
now. All right. I just shared it. See if you can see it.
Let's see. Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel 2.
Yeah. There
All
it is.
right.
There it is.
All
Okay.
right.
Hey, you
And
don't
God
have,
rules in the kingdom of men.
yeah. Okay. Now, nagging fly. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I like to laugh. Okay. I like to laugh, Mario. If you don't
I
like
do
to,
too, brother. I do too.
okay.
This this chapter 6 has probably been one of my favorite, brother. I've tried to keep an eye open for the similarities that I could find between the story and Jesus Christ. And I've noticed that Daniel and his friends have been faithful and wise and
Mhm.
prayerful. And of course, that the Lord is the peak of that example. But really, verse 4 to me really drives the point home. I'm reminded of two passages, both by John. In John 15:25, the Lord says that he was hated um, without cause, without
Mhm.
cause. And I'm also reminded of First John 3:11 through 15, which says something along the lines of love your brother, don't be like Cain that killed his brother. And why is this? Because he was an evil man and the works of Abel were just. Um, and it comes to mind how the malicious Jewish authorities distorted the words of Jesus. He said, I can rebuild this temple in 3 days. Now, he was talking about his own body, but
Right.
still, it was grounds for them to get the Lord killed, and that is something that mentality comes to mind through verse 11. 11, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew what Daniel was going to do as well, just as those Jewish authorities knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so to me, this is just peak evil men hating on the just, which on one hand is quite overwhelming to me because I know that I'm going to be hated as well. But on the other hand, it is just so reassuring to remember what the Lord said. If
Mhm.
the world hates you fear not, I've overcome the world. They hated me
Mhm.
first. And so this chapter 6 just to me screams Jesus right now, brother.
Yeah, yeah, it
I could.
does. It does.
Yes,
It
brother.
does. Very good. Obed, I'm the assignment submission part. This is my first experience with it. So I got everybody's assignment that turned them in there. I got them, but now I've got to figure out how I show you your grade. Now I'm working on it. Just be patient with me. I'll go figure it out. I just I'm taking baby steps, one step at a time to get that done. Hopefully it won't be too long.
Yeah,
Uh,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
okay,
Thank you,
brother
God
Gary.
bless.
I had to call Dave to figure out how to even turn it in. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, well, and I called Dave to find out how to get it off.
One
So,
more little question I have that's not important. It's just curiosity. Is it pronounced Darius or Darius?
I've heard it both ways.
I didn't know if one was
Yeah.
actually more correct than the other, if it was just pronunciation.
I think and I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I've
I
always said Darius, but
Well, and I think I'll tell you a way to check that is some of the Bible programs. When you highlight a word, if you look, there'll be a little speaker,
yeah.
and you click on it, it'll say the word. Now, the other thing is to listen to uh, a couple of different audio Bibles. You can go to Bible Gateway and you can hear it from English Standard, New American. You can hear it from, and you may be saying it correctly. I wouldn't argue with you.
Well, I
Let
wasn't
me.
arguing with your style either, but I just didn't know if
I
maybe
just
I was wrong.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not right. I'm going to be right here. Just a second. I want,
Yes. I'll take advantage of the last 2 minutes. I'll be right back, brother.
yes, go ahead. All right. Let's look at this is the Bible background commentary
Mhm.
that and I've already warned you guys. It can on occasion be a bit frustrating because it'll get into all these mythology of other nations, things like that. I have no interest in that. But I was going to see if I can see something about the signet ring. No, the law of the Medes and the Persians. That was the big question. Does have something on signet ring. Hmm. Oh, here we go. Okay, Obed. Well, I can read this to everybody, but I've got a little bit more on that. Um, okay, not a lot of help, but some. Taylor, you hadn't lost any more calves, have you?
Not that I'm aware of this today. I haven't been to the bigger where most of the calves are at. But
Yeah. How many do you have?
between me and my dad, we've got about uh, 75 to 100 head of calves
Wow.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Maybe they're going to get things flowing better, and you guys will feel better about your way of making a living. That's
Yeah.
just it's a mess. And not just about beef, but it's a mess. That's
Gary,
yes.
I like that mark in the Bible that you gave us about continually. So you have 3 points for your sermon right there.
Yes. Okay. So
And I
what would your
yeah
3 points be? I'm not going to argue. What would your 3 points be?
okay. I don't have I don't have them render right now, but I like the first time that is mentioned is the Daniel's custom.
Yes.
Second time is the doubtful words of the king,
Yes.
and the third time is the actual deliverance of God.
Hey, good. Yeah. You can develop a lesson on that. Yeah, that's good. I like it. Very good.
Yeah, and as well, I noticed that we have 3 times something similar about the law of the meats and the Persian, the altered not. So I was thinking about that as well. The only law that is not altered right now is God's law
That's
about
right.
James, the perfect law of liberty.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. They had it this way, but they're human and they could make mistakes. Darius proves that. But very, very good.
David, David will like he'll like this. What you were explaining about the original King James. Of course, it's Elizabethan English is what they categorize that. But the S at the start and in the middle is a different one. It's kind of like Greek. The ending S looks more like what our S looks like today.
Mm.
The beginning and in the middle of the S's and the 1611s, the Elizabethan English, it looks like a C expanded like a large C. Like you'd have in the Hebrew, how sometimes it's extended at the beginning or an ending.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have an original King James Bible. I but I do have King James. I love King James, but uh, I went to New King James some years ago because I wanted everybody to understand me. And probably if I were younger, I would probably shift now to the New American Standard of what, 96, I believe it is.
95.
95, excuse me. I'd probably go to that. It's really good, but I'm too old to make that another change.
Well, it's like you said, the original is harder to read. Like them is Theme.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kingdom has an E on the end. There's
Yeah.
we
All
is
right.
W-E. Yeah.
All right. Everybody's back. Let's first I want to do this. The Bible background commentary says that so far in archaeology, we have not found an absolute reference to this law of the Medes and Persians thing. But it does say this: a tradition at least as early as the time of Hammurabi. And Hammurabi is the 18th century BC. That's a long time before this. Recognized that a judge could not change a decision that had been made. So that apparently that kind of thinking about law goes back to the 18th century BC. That's a long, long way back. You'd be talking about 17 something or other BC, what you'd be talking about. So I don't know if that helps, but that's what I found. So All right, pick up now at verse.
And
Excuse me.
sorry, is it the same Hammurabi that has this stone that was discovered as
The
Hammurabi's
code.
code?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I see.
Yeah. All right, verse 19. Let's see where we are. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried out with a lamenting voice. And that lamenting could be in the margin, it says a grieved voice, Grieved, grieved voice, to Daniel. The king spoke, saying to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? Pause just a second. Do you see how he's identified? I really wonder, even as a preacher, I wonder if I walked among my neighbors, if they would instantly say, "Faithful preacher of God, Gary, how are you?" I wonder if they'd say that. I don't think so. It's not that I am faithful. I try to be, but that's pretty high praise. Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O king, I've done no wrong before you. Well, we have the testimony of the governors and the satraps that would confirm that. He didn't ever do anything wrong before the king. And they knew it. That's why they passed this law. Now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he believed in his God. You hear that? Why was he spared? He believed in God. And I want you to think, Mario was bringing this up. Think about Jesus, and he indicates much the same thing. In fact, he just says, glorify me, like I've been glorifying you. He knows God can raise him from the dead. You want to see another instance of this? Look at 2 Timothy chapter 4, where Paul says, at my first defense, nobody stood with me, but the Lord stood with me and delivered me. And then he says, even now, remember, in chapter 4 of 2 Timothy, he is saying, I'm about to die. But having said that, what does he go on to say? I know the Lord will deliver me. See, he's about to die, but the Lord's going to deliver him. So Daniel had that confidence, and others, Christ and Paul, did as well, that God could deliver them. All right. Young says, regarding these opening verses, his voice is full of anxiety and concern as he desires to know whether the living God, the God who preserves life, that's what that means. The living God preserves life, has been able to deliver Daniel. Daniel, being innocent of the charge of disregarding the king, was protected by God. Now look at Psalm 34 real quickly, and you're going to see that is what the singers of Israel said God would do. So Psalm 34, we're going to look at verse 7. For without cause they've hidden their net for me in a pit, which they have dug without cause for my life. So he's pleading. Listen to him in verse 1. Plead my cause, O Lord, with those who strive with me. Fight against those who fight against me.
My
See?
apologies, brother. You said Psalm 34?
Oh, I read 35. I apologize.
Oh, yes, sir.
30. Well, 35 worked really well. I got on the wrong chapter, but in 7 of 34. The angel of the Lord encamps all around those who fear him and delivers them. Now look at Psalm 91. Thank you, Mario. I would every now and then I have a slipographical memory. Okay, Psalm 91, verse 11 and 12. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Now, of course, that's the actual verse the devil quoted to Jesus. But that verse refers to all God's children. It does refer to Jesus. He's one of God's children, but it refers to all of them. So God's going to protect his people if they are faithful to him. Yes.
What will you mention that verse again? I was writing it down and I didn't get it written down.
Psalm 91, verses 11 and 12.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. How do we know God protected Daniel? Because he said no injury. There's no injury at all. Now, hang on to that because it's going to come back real quick in the same text. Now let's look at verse 24. And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives, and the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den. Now, remember, that's why that one of our commentators said that it looks like the den was a sloped, cavern-like thing in the ground, because they throw in these men and their wives and their children, and were the lions toothless? Is that why Daniel didn't get eaten up? No, they're not toothless. And how do we know? Because these fellas and their families don't even get to the bottom of the den before they're devoured. Yeah, Nathan.
Oh, now wanted to add because it said God has sent His angel. Not that's not a reference to the angel of the Lord. Is that correct?
So far as I know, it is not. And in reference to a discussion you and I had earlier, this is a case. If that be true, this is a case where an angel did work a miracle. If that be true. And I think it doesn't say angel of the Lord. So I assume it's just one of God's messengers doing his will. So that's my assumption at that point. Okay, listen to the InterVarsity Press. Oh, Obed, do you have a question? No?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make an observation. So Daniel makes the claim that he wasn't harmed by the lions because he was found just or righteous before God, and that he had done no wrong before the king as well. And a similar thing happened, I think a couple of chapters prior to this chapter with Hananiah, Mishael. That's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm trying to get their Hebrew names now.
Yeah,
And
Azariah is the last one. Azariah.
Thank you. Yes, Azariah. Yeah. So they made a similar proclamation when they said they believe that their God would deliver them from the hands of the king because they had done no wrong.
Yes.
But we also read in, I just want to know how sometimes some of these things can be explained, because it seems to suggest that God always delivers his people from wicked plots. But that is not always the case, right? We read in Isaiah chapter 57 that the righteous perishes and no man takes to heart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how do you explain to someone who reads, or when you're studying this book and the person comes across these motifs that seems to suggest that God always 100% delivers his people from wicked plots, but there are certain times that It is not always the case. How do you
Mhm.
make that adjustment in explanation?
Okay, the way I would do that is I would say, look at God's Son. If it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. When we pray, we've got to pray based on the will of God. It was not God's will that Jesus be spared, so he had to suffer. And so I would say, I don't always understand how does God's will play into this particular event in my life. But I know that God's will, I want God's will to be done. So that's how I would answer. I'd talk about Jesus. And in fact, interestingly enough, let's quickly look at Hebrews. That's a little bit, that's an important idea. Look at Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7. And it's talking about Jesus. Okay, it says, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers, supplications, prayers and supplications with vehement cries and tears to him who was able to save him. Notice that? God had the ability. He could have saved him. And then it says, and was heard because of his godly fear. Did God hear Jesus' prayer? Yes. Did he save him? No. Why not? Because Jesus said, thy will be done. No.
Yeah, I ask this question because sometimes when having discussions with some people, they claim you made mention of this earlier in your presentation that there was this guy who, when he was asked to denounce Christ, I think he was one of the patristic fathers who said he's an old man and God hadn't done anything to hurt him, so he's never going to deny him. So he was put at the stakes and then he was burned, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, why didn't God intervene if he really was faithful to him? So sometimes some of these discussions come up, and it's hard to provide a suitable explanation to.
Yeah, it is. You know, you're correct, but here's the thing, Obed, that we all need to remember is that I don't fully understand God's will. Now, I'll give you an example in my own life. I did not pray that God spare the life of my dad when he died, and I'll tell you why. Because he died suddenly of a heart attack. But I've looked at it now. I'm looking, I can now look back to December of 2000. That's when he died. And I look back and I say, my dad might have lost his faith when my sister developed cancer and the doctor said, hey, no problem, we got this taken care of, and in 9 months she was dead. He might have lost his faith. I don't know. God knew my dad better than I do. Or what about when my mother got dementia to the point that literally she finally had Alzheimer's. Literally, at the end of her life, I went to see her one day, and she looked up in horror because a man was in her room. And she didn't know who I was, and she was afraid I would come to hurt her. How do you think my dad would have dealt with it? I don't know. But God does. So was his death a bad thing? Well, for me it was. But maybe not for him. See, so I don't know if that helps, but that's my personal way of looking at it. All right, Bible Background Commentary says, when the family is included in the punishment, it usually reflects that the family line is being wiped out. This extends punishment beyond life to legacy. Herodotus tells, and that's a historian, by the way. Herodotus tells us how during the reign of Darius, a high-ranking official and close associate of the king was judged to be involved in a revolt. As a result, most of his family was executed. So why did they kill the family? They're wiping out his legacy. That's what these guys say. And I'd say, well, that sounds reasonable. Do we know that for sure? Well, of course not. But historically, that seems to be the case. All right, now pick up at verse 25 and watch what happened to the king. Then Darius wrote to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Does that sound familiar? I think Nebuchadnezzar used that expression more than once, didn't he? So they rule over everything. Peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God and steadfast forever. His kingdom is the one which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall endure to the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. Who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? Hey, David, does that verse not fit your sermon or your lesson? I think you did one on the kingdom that I think that verse would go real well. His kingdom, his dominion shall endure forever. Now, he's a human being. What all did he mean by it? I don't know. But I know that he got the truth. Whether he understood it fully or not, he got the truth. Okay. All right, verse 28. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So finally, by the end, by the way, of the chapter, we understand that it's not just Darius, it's Cyrus. And Cyrus is higher than Darius in the order of rule in the Persian Empire. Okay. Now, what I did during the break, if everybody will look at your LMS, if you look at your LMS and look under, I think it's called recent activities. Is that, wait a minute, Nathan gave me a picture. Let me look at his picture and I'll see what it's called.
Discussion.
It says share what you've been up to. You see that? It's on the, okay, you have the border in green at the right underneath discussion on the right of the green border. It says share what you've been up to. And I posted, this is from me to you, 3 sermons. Sermon number 1, Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Man's knowledge is limited. I think you all remember that certainly is true, isn't it? The wise men could not answer. Number 2, only God knows. So Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah asked God for wisdom. Daniel gives thanksgiving for wisdom, and then he indicates there's a God in heaven who reveals secrets. And then number 3, God knows the future. Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, Medo-Persian follows next. And I'm giving you the dates there. Notice, Medo-Persian Empire was from 538 to 332. Greek Empire was from 332 to 63. Roman Empire is from 63 to 70 AD. Now, I limited it to 70, not because the Roman Empire ends there, but because that's the end of the Jewish system. That is the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. And notice Daniel 2:44 says, and in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom. That's during the Roman rule, or else God doesn't know. If the kingdom was not established under Roman rule, then God's a liar. Now, I don't believe God's a liar, so don't take it that way. but the kingdom had to be established under Roman rule because that's what God said. All right, then number 4, God's kingdom will stand forever. That's Daniel 2:44, Daniel 2:35 talks about the stone and how it spreads the whole earth. Daniel 2:47, praise God. Okay, that is the first sermon. Did everybody get that? Okay. You see why I would use that? Now that's not purely a kingdom sermon, but it includes the kingdom. So you could have used that sermon. I mean, that is a way to do it. You see why I didn't give it to you the other day, because I didn't want to pre-bias you in making your own sermon. All right, sermon number 2, 3 men of faith. Daniel 3 is, of course, the source. As a text, I looked at Hebrews chapter 11. Uh-oh. Are you still hearing me? You do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I bumped something on my earphones. I was afraid it went off. I hope not. Okay. Hebrews 11:33-34 says, who through faith subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions. Does that sound familiar? Quenched the violence of fire. Does that sound familiar? Escaped the edge of the sword. Out of weakness were made strong. Became valiant in battle. Turned to flight the armies of aliens. All right. So start out with the king's decree. Daniel 3:1-7. The image to worship. Daniel 3:8-12. Information about God's men. They're not going to do it. Point 2. The king confronts God's men. The king's threat. And then the 3 men stand up for God. Then we got God saves the faithful. The king's wrath. One with them like the Son of God. And then the faithful are saved by God's power. And finally, point 4, a wicked king submits to God. Daniel 3:28-30. Note, when we faithfully serve God, he gets the glory. I am tired of hearing preachers say, I went over here and I did this great work. I baptized. Hey, brother, you didn't baptize anybody unless God brought forth the increase. Okay? So we don't need to be making any great claims. That I try very hard not to ever say my people in regard to the church here. They're not my people. They're my brothers. They're my sisters, but they're not my people. They're God's people. Okay? So you might think, oh man, he's on a hobby horse. I'd say, yeah, I am. I'll admit that. I'm good with that. All right. Lesson number 3. God rules in the kingdom of men. Now, if I had not have said, and I did say in the syllabus, the kingdom of God as seen in Daniel 2, but if I had not have said, this would be your chapter, I think. And here's what we find. Number 1, God knows. And number 2 dropped out of there. That's interesting. Let me find out what the problem is here. Okay. No, there it is. Okay.
Number 2 is there. God rules.
It moved over to the side.
Yeah.
It's not appropriately aligned, but anyway, that's my fault. All right. So God knows. Those who serve other gods do not know. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like chapter 2. The one who serves the living God knows. So then under that, I show that by the dream of the great tree and the interpretation. Who did that? Daniel. How did he do it? Because he serves the living God. That's how he did it. Number 2, God rules. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17, 25, 26, and 32. That's the lesson to be learned. Remember? Every one of those verses says something about God rules in the kingdom of men. Verse 17, that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. If you go on down, And you see verse 25, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. In verse 26, heaven rules. And then in verse 32, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. And then that's exactly what Nebuchadnezzar recognizes. Okay, so that's what I'm pointing out. What was the advice? And you know what? I spelled that wrong. Isn't advice ADVICE? Okay, you can change that. If you don't do this, make it right and tell everybody your teacher wasn't too smart. So it's okay. The advice was, basically honor God, honor God. Take care of the poor, take care of the needy, the widows, people like that. Nebuchadnezzar didn't do it. Nebuchadnezzar focused on Nebuchadnezzar. And so what was the lesson learned? Well, the lesson learned is that you don't listen to God, he'll punish you. And he did. He punished Nebuchadnezzar quite clearly. So then, point 3, God deserves praise. So notice he said, praise and extol and honor. Now watch what he praised, the King of heaven, the King of heaven. Here is the guy who claims to be king over all the world. Remember how he said it? He said it twice in that chapter. He said the same thing. No, remember, listen to the beginning. To all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. But what does he say? The King of heaven. There's somebody above me. Nebuchadnezzar sees that now. Number 2, all of his works are truth. Praise God. All of his works are truth. Don't tell me there's no such thing as truth. I don't buy it. I know people are saying that, but that's false. It's totally false. Number 3, his ways are justice. That is, he was righteous in judging the king. Isn't that interesting? The king is saying, I deserved what I got. Number 4, God will humble the proud. You know who knew that for sure? Nebuchadnezzar. Because he was proud and God humbled him. And then those who have seen God's power must tell. And remember, I said I think verses 1 through 3 were written after everything was over. They introduce the chapter, and then he explains, how did I arrive at what I told you in verses 1 through 3? Here's how it happened. That's how I believe the chapter unfolded. All right, questions or comments from you all on those sermons?
Yeah, Brother Hampton, I have just an observation. It's not a question. I just want your thoughts on that. I see from your both the PowerPoint presentation and in all your documents, you date the dating with regards to BC and AD is different from what I read when I'm looking at contemporary materials. They tend to align themselves with CE and BCE. I don't know what your thoughts are on those kind of nomenclature.
Well, then it's not wrong. It's just a way of designating time on a calendar. But here's what I think they're doing, Obed. I think they're trying to get Jesus out of the action. They're trying to take Jesus out of every part of our lives. And so BC is before the Common Era, right? Am I right? BCE, before the Common Era.
Before the Common Era, yeah.
And then the other is what? Remind me. What's the other one?
Common Era, CE.
Common Era, yeah. See, they're trying to get Jesus out of it. And I'm kind of stubborn. But, I'm not letting them take Jesus out of it.
but I just want to know, so they all point to the same reference points, right? AD, whether AD or
as far as I know, yeah, as far as I know, except for this, Jesus probably, there was a mess up when they developed the entire calendar. I'm talking about years and years and years worth. And I think they call that, I think it's the Gregorian calendar. I need to look that
That's
up and
right.
be sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When they developed it, they messed up a little bit. It is possible that going by that calendar, okay, that Jesus was born 6 years before the year of our Lord. He may have been born
Oh,
in
okay.
6 BC. He may have. So
Hmm.
I don't know how they do CE and BCE. I don't know if they do where they draw the line, but they're very close to one another as far as I know. And I'll look that up. You can too. AI will
Yeah.
tell you almost anything if you ask it. I just
Okay.
hadn't asked that question yet. It's a good question. Yes. Anybody else? Any other comments or questions? Thoughts?
Brother, I don't remember if we talk about that at the beginning of chapter 4, but
Uh-huh.
chapter 4 seems to be like a decree or like a message reading from the king to all the
Mm-hmm.
people, right?
Yeah.
Tell the
Yes.
story.
Yes. I think Daniel just now look. I don't know, but I think Daniel just wrote down the decree. Did he help the king write it down? He may have. Why do I say that? What does the king know about when he was crazy? Yeah, probably not anything really, except what people tell him. So, but yeah, I think by inspiration, any mistakes the king might have made, Daniel would have corrected those. But I think it looks like chapter 4 is a decree. Here's what I'm saying. Here's why I'm saying it. That's what it looks like to me. That's why when I preach it, I preach the first 3 verses at the end, not the beginning, because I think he tells this is how I got there, and then here's the conclusion. That's uh, okay. Anybody else? Good question. Yes, Obed.
Now I have a question. My question has to do with it still has to do with the law of the Medes and the Persians. So
Okay.
just as we read in chapter 6, the law is immutable; it cannot be altered. But we see in verse 24 that the king gave a command to bring verse 23 to verse 24 that Daniel was released. So in other words, the law of the Medes and Persians was uh, set aside, right?
It was
So
not.
Daniel
It
was
was
put,
no. It was not set aside. He was to
okay,
be thrown. He was to be thrown into the lion's den. They
And they
threw him in
did.
the
okay,
lion's den. They kept the law. They did exactly what they said that he said he was going to do. The thing is, God prevented the law from harming his man.
okay. So they bringing him out from the den wasn't setting aside of the law. The law it was effectively carried through, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, this has happened in the United States, and I'm not getting. I don't want to get into discussion of capital punishment. Okay, I'm just going to tell you a true story. They were trying to electrocute a guy, and it failed. So they decided they freed him from the sentence of death. Now, was that the right decision? I don't know. I'm just telling you, they did electrocute him, but he didn't die. So what do you do with that? What was the law? The law was throw him in the lion's den. Did they throw him in? Yeah, they threw him in all night long. Apparently, at about sundown, and the king goes back at sun up. That's 12 hours, brothers. That's and sister. I'm sorry, Francine. I know you're there, and I always say brothers, and I should include you. If I said brethren, technically it would include you, but I don't always do that. I apologize. So about he was 12 hours in the lion's den. They kept the law. The king did what he said he would do: throw him in the lion's den. It's just that God wouldn't let him die. Uh, and then as I said, we found out the lions are perfectly viable. They don't have any trouble, killing somebody if they need to. Here comes lunch. So you almost hear them saying that as the people are thrown in. Okay. Good question. Anybody else? All right. Now I have a question for you. Does it help you for me to occasionally throw out sermon ideas from what I've done? Is that useful to you?
Oh, I
Okay.
love it.
Okay. Well, again, obviously, and I'll speak to David because he's the one who spoke up, but I'm speaking to everybody. Don't just take my outline, make it yours, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but you may add some things I didn't even think of. That's okay. You know, it's your, if you're going to use it, it's your outline. The only thing I've ever asked any preacher is, if you use one of my outlines and I'm coming there to speak, please warn me that they already heard that. You know, so I'll do something else. You know, when I come. Uh, all right. Any other comments at all?
When should we see some feedback on what we turned in?
I've got it all. Everybody's graded, and now I'm trying to figure out. That's the weakness of the LMS. As of right now, I cannot give you the feedback in through the LMS. I'm gonna have to probably email people, and I don't know if I have everybody's email. But I'll tell you. Okay, I'm teaching two classes. I'm teaching this class for this school on Saturdays. I teach from 9 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon for another school. Okay, so I have a pile of papers about that deep that I'm grading. I've graded all of yours. Let me first of all say to all of you, nobody failed. In fact, nobody got below a B. Okay, there's one paper left to grade, and Ernest knows it's him because I lost his. Where did it go? I lost it. I don't know. It's one of these days I'll find it and say, oh, there it is. You know, but so far it's lost. You know, so I have not graded it, but I doubt Ernest fails, and I doubt he gets below a B. If he does, he and I are going to have a conversation by telephone, and he knows that.
So with all these other papers, can we go ahead and start working on them and just turn them in as we get them done?
Yeah, Ernest turned in. That's why I lost his. He turned his in what, 2 weeks ago? I don't know, something about like that. So yeah, turn them in. Yeah, if you'll put them on the LMS, that's the only thing I would request of you, Chip. And Taylor had to call Dave and get him to help him do it. I had to call Dave to find out how to get it off of there. Okay, so I'm just being honest with you. You say, boy, you're dumb, and I'll say, yeah. If you're talking about technology, I am. I don't have any problem with that. I'm old and I'm dumb. You know, when it comes to that. But please submit it on the LMS, because then I won't lose it. I can go to the LMS and I can download it multiple times if I need to. And there's even a place where I can click on the eye, you know, the drawing of a human eye. I click on that, I can see it without downloading it. Of course, that doesn't help me. I'm old. I like hard copies. Okay. Yeah, Nathan.
Yes, on the you I think with the grades,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta get them turned in to Dave or something.
I think I can turn the grade in on the LMS. What I cannot do is give you the comments, I think. And what I'm going to try to do is scan them and send them back to you. Now, Chip, I want to work with you sometime with PowerPoints, because my daughter, our daughter is, and Nathan will tell you this, she is a television wizard. She works for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. She's their manager of all the technology stuff, you know. Um, so she goes all over the world, you know, to film those fights and stuff and puts them up online, all this, that, and the other. I was at her house one time in Henderson before she went with the UFC. I was at her house and I was getting ready to give a lesson. And I said, look at my PowerPoint and tell me what you think. And she looked at it and she said, okay. She said, answer one question. I'll tell you what I think. And I said, all right, what's the question? She said, do you want people to look at your PowerPoint or do you want them to listen to you? And I said, well, of course I want them to listen to me. She said, then you got too much junk on your PowerPoint. Make your PowerPoint simpler so that people can grasp it just right off the bat. Your PowerPoint's beautiful. I got no problem with the beauty of it. I'm sorry, Chip. If this offends you, you tell me. I'm not trying to attack you in front of everybody or whatever. The PowerPoint
And
is
me.
okay.
I like
All
good
right.
correction.
Well, the PowerPoint is great. It's beautiful, but it's not going to work well. Let me tell you this: if you ever make a PowerPoint and you put the slide up, you know where you're playing your PowerPoint on your screen. If you put the slide up and you cannot easily read everything on it, your type is too small. Your font is too small. So yours, I had to literally go back and I had to print it page by page by page to be able to see it. That, if I'm doing a PowerPoint, I can print 6 pages on a sheet and I can read all of them. So that tells you kind of your print is too small. Okay, just and that's minor. You will not be graded down because you used a PowerPoint. I'm not going to do that. I'm just telling you, you want people to be able to, when you present it, you want people to be able to grasp what you mean and be able to go home with the lesson. And if the PowerPoint does not help do that, then get rid of it. Now, if it does help do it, well, fine, then use it. You know that. So anyway, I hope that was
brother.
fair. Okay, all right. I'm not attacking anybody. Anybody else?
Well, I wanted to bring up
Anything?
about the PowerPoints. I made one too, but I couldn't figure out how to submit it with my sermon layout that I sent you. But I know it. I know some people I know. The PowerPoints really help them with taking notes to where they can carry on preaching the word while they're still trying to remember what they wrote. Well, they can look up at the PowerPoint and see his points to where they can keep on taking notes.
Yes, yes. Okay,
So I like
Taylor.
PowerPoints.
My email, I like them too. I use them pretty much all the time. In fact, I'm going to do. Let me look. 1 second. Remember the thing I showed you in the last class? God at work? I'm going to preach that Sunday from Daniel chapter 1. And Taylor, do I have your email address? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm still figuring everything out.
Okay, look on the syllabus, and at the top you'll see my email address. Send me an email, and all you got to do is say in the subject line says, "Hey, this is Taylor." It's all you got to do. Okay, and when I get it, then I'll be able to send something to you. And
Okay.
anybody, and I can do the same with any of you. I have Chip's email. I have Ernest's email. I know for sure. I have Nathan's. Mario, I've got his, but he's auditing. He's not taking for, and that's okay. But he's not taking it for credit. So anybody else? If you,
Yeah, I got 2 things for you, Gary.
okay, go ahead.
First one is Calix told me he's got his stuff turned in, but he's having to go back and watch the recordings because their internet isn't working at their house. Is he up to speed?
I'll have to check. Okay, I'm not. I haven't seen his stuff yet, but I'll look for it.
Okay.
I hadn't looked this morning to find anything. Okay, what's your
Okay.
second point?
Second point is my PowerPoint is probably different from everybody else's because mine is for use in the pulpit facing me, not facing the audience. It's my
Yeah,
sermon notes.
yeah. I know. I've seen your stuff before, and that's fine. I knew Chip was trying to use it for the audience, and
Okay.
that's it's good. It's just a little bit too busy and too small. That's my.
Okay.
And look, I'm old. I wear trifocals as it is, guys. Don't push me beyond trifocals. I don't have any answer beyond that. All right. Anything I can do to make class better? I ask you this, try to ask it at the end of every class. Anything I can do that would make this class better? Okay, nobody's making a comment. Taylor, you got a comment? You were unmuted. That's the reason I asked.
I'm sorry. I just left it unmuted from a while ago. No,
It doesn't.
keep going. I like it the way it is.
Okay. All right.
Hampton,
Yes, go ahead.
I would appreciate it if you would share more than two sermons each class. They give us things to think about, not necessarily use, but for our study and benefit. So they're helpful.
Okay. Well, I may have to share things not in Daniel. I'll give you one that I expect to do. I think it's in the LMS. When we get down into the apocalyptic portion of Daniel, chapter 7 through 12, I think we're going to do a large PowerPoint on, and it's a lesson. In fact, when I do it as sermons, it's at least 2 lessons, and it's on the end of time and the destruction of Jerusalem. So we'll come to that because Jesus mentions Daniel in Matthew 24. He mentions Daniel, brings him up. And by the way, Luke has the same thing. I think it's Luke 21, but I have to double check. I'm not. Don't tell. Mario caught me, or whoever, I think Mario did, caught me one psalm off, so I could be off on my Luke. I don't know, but I'm close. I'll do like Marshall Keeble. Marshall Keeble said, "Well, read the book. It's in there somewhere." So that's my answer. Okay. Here's the thing. I have not been had any system for checking if you're doing the videos by Brother Spruill. But if you're not doing his videos, fellas and young lady, you're missing a chance that he will give you something that'll make your sermon better, or that'll make your class or whatever it is you're doing. Okay, yeah, Nate.
Now, David could sit there and kind of concur with this, uh, because there were videos, I think for Hebrew language, and if you let Dave know, Dave can sit there and you have to go in and you have to actually go in and check, saying I did it, and it's on the honor system.
Ah,
So if you
okay.
don't check any of them, that'll be graded at the end of it, going, well, you didn't do this.
Oh, okay. I told you when it comes to LMS, I'm lucky I can get in there at all.
I'm dumber than you are.
All right. Okay. So don't forget to part of this class. See, we stop at 10 o'clock. For all you guys stateside, or I would assume in Costa Rica. What time is it in Costa Rica, Mario?
10, brother. 10.
So you're on the same time we are, Central Time. 10 in the morning?
Yes, sir. 10 in the morning.
Okay. Well, that's what we are. So
Okay.
you're on the same time. But the Philippines is 14 hours ahead. So it's just about midnight, isn't it, Ernest? Pretty close. So so here's Carl and here's Francine, and they're desperately wanting to go lay down. And so I made the videos can be done some other time. But you have a video that goes with every lesson we've done so far. And you should be looking at those because they're helpful. Brother Sproul and the other brother presented some good information. Okay. Nobody has anything else? All right, Lord willing. Oh, don't forget, a week from today, your next presentation is due. Now, Chip's already
Check
asked,
your
could you?
email.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will. It'd be better if you put it in the LMS, but okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Only because Dave. Okay, there's a big event happening today. I'm not going to be the guy to announce it, but there's a really big event happening today, and you're going to understand why the LMS is so important when that happens. Okay, so wait for the announcement, but when it's made, then I can tell you, or here's how the LMS plays into what happened. And it's really good. It's super. I'm thrilled to death that they're getting this done. But give me maybe another week, and I'll be able to tell you. But all right. So everybody, go ahead and submit and try to submit on the LMS. If you can't do it, okay. But I think most of you can. I've seen that you're picking up on it pretty well. I figure if Taylor and I can figure it out, the rest of you surely can figure it out. You're smarter than I am on that stuff. Okay. All right. So we will meet. That's due next Thursday. If you want to submit it today, fine. I mean, Ernest already has. Fine. Good deal. And I will get it on my email, Ernest. I know how to find it there. I'm thankful you sent the other one so I can get it, go back and look at it. I'm sorry.
No, I submitted the other one on the LMS, so I don't know.
Okay. I need to go. I'll go back and look. I don't know. I'm okay. Whatever. I found the other one when you resubmitted it. I found it. So I don't know about the original. I lost it. I just say, okay, I lost it.
No problem.
How did I do it? I don't know. How did I get to work this morning? Well, I don't know that either. All right. You all have a good rest of the week. I hope Lord's Day goes well. And Lord willing, I'll see you next Monday.
Amen, brother.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye,
Thank you, brother.
brethren and sis.
Bye.
Have a wonderful, blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.